sometimes I fucking hurt and I'm sad, and we get women up there talking about abuse, we get women talking about rape, we get women talking about mental health issues, we get them talking about falling in love, having kids, having babies, like not
real
being able
stuff.
to have babies, real life stuff.
People connect with that. That's why people don't understand social media. People, some do, but like, so there's so many of these, people that are making their life, making their money and their lifestyle through being just pretty. Like, people care about real, People care about authenticity is a word you used earlier, and people they can connect with. Exactly. People connect with real things. People don't connect with, oh man, you look super hot standing next to that protein shaker. You have had a great day. No one gives a fuck about that.
But that leads us back round, because what we're doing with social media is we're actually just continuing this culture of competition and beauty standards that are just unreachable by anybody. Men have to be strong and emotionless. Women have to be beautiful and toned and skinny. Everyone has to be white and straight. And it's like, it's just like, some people are that, and that's really amazing that you are that, but it's also really amazing when you're not that too. And when we are just perpetuating those things in our social media feeds and perpetuating that story, we're not actually making the world a better place.
No,
we're not.
Way worse.
And can we show up with like our cellulite, and can we show up with our depression, and can we show up with our just like, I'm just having a good day watching the trees.
Yeah.
Just whatever is
the trees
our
on
story.
Netflix. I'm watching the trees on Netflix, and it's fucking awesome.
You should pitch that. I think that would they'd take it.
No, I'm with you. I've got a huge problem with social media. Listeners of this podcast are probably sick of me talking about it, but I think there should be warning. I think there will be warning labels in 10 years, 20 years time, just like cigarettes. But there's good people out there doing good things as well. But that's neither here nor there. But that's interesting. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with you was something that I heard on your TED Talk, and it was about. So obviously you have facilitated the space for women to talk and speak on stage or whatever, and you also coach people in public speaking, right? So why? And I have my theories. Why is public speaking more horrifying a thought than the thought of death and spiders and sharks and everything else? Why is that?
You have to add spiders and sharks because we're in Australia, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, spiders and sharks combined.
Yeah. Because it leads back to the sense of social rejection. If I show up and speak, what if they don't like what I say? What if I don't like what I say? What if my community rejects me? Okay, and in this day and age, that's not too much of a bad thing, So, it can be harrowing to the soul to be rejected by community, but you can usually meet new people or whatever. However, primarily, if we are rejected by our community, we are on our own. If we are on our own, we are dead. You cannot survive as an individual primarily. And so what I feel like the fear of public speaking speaks to is that fear of death, of like, if I show up and I get rejected, what will happen? And then that's been enhanced by different things. So for example, this concept of, I don't know if you saw, I got a poem called Witches that came out and that went viral. And that's when we think as women, what it is as women in the Me Too movement to speak up, when that links back to to so many hundreds of years worth of literally killing women for speaking up. Then that follows through. Trauma actually exists in DNA, right? It exists and lives in DNA. Same for people of color, same for Jewish people with, same for so many of us. And we walk, and it's the same for men, like the years of silencing emotions, of silencing truth, of silencing honesty and holding face. And it changes our DNA. It creates a trauma story. And the idea of actually speaking isn't just, I'm afraid that these people in this room won't hear me.
Yeah.
It's facing that fear of that we've been carrying. It's actually for me, when we do start speaking up, it's actually reshaping our DNA. I don't know if that's scientific. Don't ask Dr. Carl about that.
There's plenty of room for bro science on Adventure Radio. Don't worry. Pseudo bro science, whatever you want to call it.
But it's reframing that neural pathway of like, if I speak, I will get shamed. and I will die. It's kind of coming into this, like, actually there is, for me, I see there as being comfort zones and safety zones. And I fully encourage people to push their comfort zone and also to know where your safety zone is in each moment, and not push your safety zone, but push your comfort zone. And when we can define where those 2 points are, then we can actually safely speak up. We can take our art, we can take our poetry, we can take our opinions, we can take our emotions, and we can put them in places where we can speak up that is uncomfortable, but it is not unsafe.
I thank you for that answer. That was a very good answer.
I got a bit ranty in there.
No, it's good. It was good. As I never really thought about public speaking all that much, but I feel like I can connect with that. I've always had a very big fear of public speaking. I've done it a few times now, and I don't find it difficult. But it's that fear of the unknown, really, and whatever. But I've always had an issue when I've had personal times where they've been rough. I get social anxiety. That's like very rarely have I had like what you would call probably depression or whatever, and I don't get crazy anxieties of fear of death or ghosts or whatever. Like I know some people have. I get social anxiety really bad. And it all stems back to, I believe, and my psychologists believe, the fear of people not liking me, what you say, and going back to the primal level of like, no one will like me, no one will love me, I will be alone. Because if you think of like, thank you for that TED Talk, because that actually was the most befuddling thing to me, the whole fear of public speaking thing. But it kind of makes sense to me now, because like you say, it's primal. Like, the worst thing that we can do to the most horrible people on the planet, if you're a murderer, a rapist, whatever, psychopath, and you're in jail and you fuck up in jail, we put you in solitary confinement. Like, you're going by yourself, and it's the worst feeling ever, and it drives people crazy. So actually standing up on stage and feeling like, okay, here's who I am. You don't have the comfort zone of you're talking to your friends and family and people that love you most, or people that know you, your co-workers or in your community. You really are opening yourself up to large amounts of people potentially not actually agreeing with you and potentially not liking you, which you have to be okay with, but we're not as people. So how do you teach people? That's fascinating. How do you break through that with people?
Firstly is the realization that when you're up on that stage and you're afraid of all those things happening, the realization that every single person sitting in that audience is exactly afraid of the same thing. We're all afraid of the same thing. We're all afraid of showing up somewhere, whether it's on stage or to our loved ones or to our close ones. To me, public speaking is speaking to anyone other than myself. And sometimes it's also how I show up to myself, right? My inner voice. So if I can stand on stage and remember that I'm not speaking to a crowd of faces waiting to lynch me, what I'm speaking to is a crowd of people who are petrified of being seen and doing their best to show up in all these ways that society and social media have told us to show up, and going home and often feeling lonely at times, and often feeling sad, and often feeling unachieved, or often crying at times if they might, or like whatever it is, watching Netflix, binge eating ice cream, whatever it is that we do, right? All these people in this audience have that. And when we remember that, suddenly they aren't othered. They're just like us. And then in that, can I then speak to them as if I was speaking to somebody who I knew, rather than trying to prove myself or shying back and hiding myself? What if I just showed up as me, and in that gave them the opportunity to see themselves? And you know what? If they can't take it, my role in my idea when I stand on stage, my role is to stand up and tell my story with as much honesty as I can, to make it as accessible to people, to create connection, right? To create connection. And if I show up and I've done my half, my part of the work isn't to make them hear my story or like my story. My role is to make my story available to those who need it, to other people like me who want to connect. And there might be people out there who just are in a point in their life that they just cannot connect with what I'm saying. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And if they don't like it and they're not into it, that's their thing.
No harm done.
Yeah, it's no harm done. I'm not here to prove to anybody else that they should be honest. I'm here to show up and say, I am ready to be honest. And if you are ready to be honest too, come, let's do it. let's step forward and make social change. Because I believe that vulnerability attracts vulnerability, authenticity attracts authenticity, and in that, eventually, like there was times in my life that I wasn't able to either. And it's not just like once I've got it, I'm there, I'm enlightened. No way. It's every day I show up, and every day I have to ask, how much am I able to be honest today? How much am I able to be vulnerable today? What will serve me today? And in that, maybe the people in the audience one day who weren't able to, next time they watch the TED Talk or whatever else, they are. And it affects us differently in those days, you know? So for me, my work really is to just help myself and others show up as themselves. And in that, maybe inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's a really nice, a nice thing to put your. It's good. I feel like that would be really rewarding. You know, which is the aim of the game.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.